Hello, I'm not sure what happened there, but we lost you for a second. We're back now though. So this will need to be uploaded as two separate videos for tonight's interview. And that will be uploaded onto YouTube and shared across all the social media pages once the interview is finalised. So the next item on the... Oh, sorry, we didn't get to the risk profiling in the student surveys. So tell us about that and how that impacted your audit.
So even during the audit, ASQA actually carried out their own student surveys on students, over 85% satisfactory on all areas, except for one area, which was that the students couldn't upgrade their qualifications, because they were going from TAE 40116 up and wanted to go 110, and wanted to complete diplomas of VET. And one of the things that we were actually applying for was the diploma of VET. So there was a lot of students out there that were wanting those qualifications, but and that's the only reason that we had an under 85% rate in that area, because we couldn't actually provide that service. One of the reasons why we put the qualification on.
So when we're looking at this holistically, you were issued with a cancellation notice after ASQA rejected your amendment to scope application for the TAE 40116, and your previous complaint history as an RTO was 0 according to ASQA records, and your risk profile was low, and you also had an 85% average student satisfaction rate. Tell me, what impact did this have on your clients? And
so we actually had a lot of government clients actually for TAE. We trained government clients across Victoria and interstate, and those government clients also at that time had no trainers to actually carry on that training. They held in there for a good 6 months waiting for the qualification to come onto scope. However, I had to say to them, look, you're going to have to go and find another provider now, because I can't guarantee when or if I will get the qualification on scope. So they actually then had to go and find other providers with mixed results. They've had a lot of mixed results. So since I've come back on board training some of those providers, I am training some of their people in the qualifications that they've gone to other providers and not been very successful in the completion area. So I train in industry, one of the few places that actually go into the industry and train in the TAE. And I believe that is one of the benefits for the clients, and they were deprived of that.
Now, going through the tribunal process, tell me about how that occurred. Was it something that was quite straight and sort of easy, like it was a fair process, do you think? Or do you think that there were things that could have been done differently? Tell me about that. Do you think that there were breaches of the model litigant obligations under the Legal Services Directions 2017, for example?
Yeah, there was a few breaches that I could explain. One of the breaches, I will say that I was...
Without naming names.
I was deemed compliant at one stage under a compliance monitoring audit.
And tell me, this is really interesting, this compliance monitoring audit, and tell me a bit about that.
So I had to have a compliance monitoring audit. I was, it was for the 2 BSB qualifications that I still had on scope. At the time I didn't have any TAE qualifications on scope because it had all had been superseded out, trained out time. So I was audited, 2 auditors for 4 students that I had on the books.
And you would have been paying ASQA's hourly rate of, I think it's about $275 an hour for a compliance monitoring audit for each auditor for the duration of the audit?
Yeah, so a $6,000 bill for auditing, so 2 auditors coming out, $6,000 bill plus an extra $1,000 for a rectification document. So, yep, $7,000 for the auditing of 4 students.
You wouldn't have even made $7,000 on 4 students in BSB
No,
qualifications
not in BSB.
because you're not even a CRICOS provider, you're just a domestic provider.
No, just a domestic, not funded provider.
Yeah. So going back to the model litigant obligations then, and I'm sorry I sort of sidetracked you there a little bit. Tell us about that without naming names. Mm-hmm. Tell us about some of the things that you believe could have been breaches of the model litigant obligation.
Yeah, so one of them was from that compliance monitoring audit. I was deemed compliant at the end of that. And then I was going to the AAT for the TAE, part of my AAT proceedings, and at 6:30 that night before the AAT proceedings hearing was happening, we received an email from ASQA saying that the compliance monitoring audit that we completed, we made a mistake. And now you're non-compliant.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And I believe that it was unnecessarily drawn out as well.
Yes, yeah. There was quite a draw out. So they would say that things like, we'll have a roundtable discussion. We get to that roundtable discussion time. Oh no, we're not having that. Dangling the carrot. Them pushing it, then saying no, that's not going to happen.
So offering a conciliation hearing, you mean, and then withdrawing it.
Yeah. So to a point where there was, you would get into any part of the AAT process, and you couldn't trust anything that would actually come about because things just change, and to a point where you're going, how can that actually happen? I'm legally doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. However, the other side is really pushing the boundaries on that one.
Sure. What have we got next on the list? I believe that there were some other potential breaches of the model litigant obligations.
So the other things would be auditors not having the right qualifications. To have auditor qualifications by their own act.
So that's the standards for VET Regulators, 2015. You're saying that the auditors didn't have the qualifications to be auditing, and they didn't necessarily have the vocational or industry competency and currency either to be auditing the qualifications that they were?
No, that's exactly right. There was no, not at any time was there any industry expert in TAE actually put forward in the auditing process, especially when we ask, can we have a specialist, can we get an independent review, can we, all of those processes, and this silence.
I do believe that there were quite a few conflicts of interest that came up throughout your process as well.
Yeah, so one auditor, whilst auditing me, also at the same time was providing TAE documentation to another provider for them to actually put forward for their own application for TAE, which they
selling
were
it,
which they were successful in achieving.
Wow, unbelievable. What else have we got on here? Consultants, vet service providers, and legal advisors.
Okay.
What did you want to talk about there?
Yeah, so one of the things that I would actually say throughout this process, that there are a lot of consultants out there. There's a lot of consultants out there that are good, but there's a lot of consultants out there that have limited knowledge in proceedings at the